Many Kenyans were confused and very worried at the words that Migori Governor Okoth Obado's lawyer used to the press. The long and short of what the governor's lawyer said was that his client was being harassed. He said that the police have got absolutely no evidence to link him to the crime, to the murder of Sharon Otieno. Now, of course, his colleagues in the legal profession, hearing him talk like this, because he's a well-known lawyer, very prominent, very competent lawyer, but his colleagues, hearing his words, hearing the way he was talking, they understood. They understood that the lawyer was just being political and definitely not legal. Because legally speaking, it is not correct to say that his client had no links whatsoever and the police could not establish any links whatsoever with the murder of Sharon Otieno. Legally, that is not correct, and any lawyer would know that. Now, why would Obado's lawyer need to play politics? Well, that's a little obvious, because this thing has become public. There's a lot of public interest in this. And the general feeling amongst the public is that his client is guilty. His client has already been tried and convicted in the court of public opinion. And when this has happened, his lawyer cannot just sit around doing nothing. He has to do something. So he has to fire back his arguments, his out-of-court arguments. And of course, he's not doing this in a court of law where there's a judge with legal knowledge. He's doing it out in the public. So anything goes, including saying that his client has got no links whatsoever. And the police have absolutely zero evidence against him. And since he's talking to people who do not have any legal training, nobody can challenge him or challenge his statements. Because the true legal position is that it is very difficult, virtually impossible, to link Governor Okoth Obado with the murder of Sharon Otieno. Why am I saying this? Number one, they had a relationship which even the governor himself does not deny. And this relationship was very serious because it resulted in a pregnancy. The late Sharon Otieno was pregnant. And this pregnancy belonged to Governor Okoth Obado. And even the governor did not deny it. He confessed long before the DNA results came back, which confirmed the same. Now, some of the online chats between Obado and the late Sharon are in the public domain. Somebody posted them online, and they've been circulating. And it is very clear from those chats that the late Sharon was blackmailing the governor. So already there's a strong relationship, and a motive. So already with that information, the governor is in a tight spot, and has to prove to the police why he's innocent. But here, the governor has an uphill task. Why? Because his agents have been linked directly to the murder. His personal assistant, Michael Oyamo, was in the same vehicle that Sharon was last seen alive in. And when he jumped out, two other people jumped in, and sandwiched both the late Sharon Otieno and the journalist who escaped, Bonodor. Now in law, the relationship between a principal and an agent is very serious. In fact, in some instances, in commercial law, the principal can be liable, for actions taken by the agent. And so the fact that Bwana Oyamo was one of the last people to see Sharon alive is very damning for the governor. Because the question that arises is, what was Bwana Oyamo doing? Was he acting on behalf of himself? Definitely not. Agents act and do things on behalf of their principal, on behalf of the boss. And Bwana Oyamo is not the only agent of Governor Obado who has been linked to the crime and arrested. There is Okoth Obado's bodyguard. Now bodyguard is very close to the governor. And then there's Caspar Obiero, a clerk in the Migori government and a person who regularly ran errands for the governor. All these people serve at the pleasure of the governor, the employees of the governor. They have been closely linked to the governor, and now they're closely linked to the murder. Yeah. So how can you remove Okoth Obado from all this? Impossible. All this information puts Bwana Obado in a defensive position where he has to prove his innocence. It is really very obvious. And this is why many Kenyans are wondering why it took so long to arrest Governor Obado. Because he has to give an answer that is believable, as to why most people who are very close to him are under arrest in connection to the murder. Now we're going for a brief commercial break. When we come back, we will discuss the bombshell info that has come out that actually the late Sharon Otieno's husband, a Mr. Bernard Okuta, tried to take dowry to the home of Sharon Otieno, but he was met with resistance. Sharon was not really interested in that. I'll be back in a bit. Don't go away.
Political assassinations in Kenya made to look like accidents. Or natural causes. Or even alleged overdoses of Viagra. Meanwhile, Kenyans do not have a clue. Make sure you catch Kumekucha's very revealing video right here on this channel. You'll be shocked. That I guarantee you. Click on the link that will appear on the top left-hand corner of your screen, and you'll be able to watch this investigative report right away. Keep it here on the Kumekucha Chris channel. Compelling content that you will never find anywhere else.
Now, the reason why the late Sharon Otieno was reluctant to have dowry taken to her home is because she had moved on. She was in another serious relationship, even after having 3 children with this school teacher husband of hers. And that is not a crime. Even Sharon's ambition of being bought a house and being made comfortable is not a crime. The only crime here is a very brutal murder of Sharon Otieno. And this crime is so serious that diverting attention will not help and will not work. When somebody wants to divert attention by discussing Sharon's morals, it doesn't work. Or when you try and use the other diversionary measure of trying to ask how the journalist jumped out of a moving vehicle, and yet they were sandwiched together with Sharon by 2 men sitting close to the doors of the car. It is amazing how people can miss things which are so obvious. Because the injuries which Bwana Odor, the journalist, got as a result of jumping from the moving vehicle are serious. They were serious injuries. They are not the kind of injuries that somebody would want to go through as part of their act. That is number 1. Number 2 would be, what would possibly be the motive for the journalist to get involved in this crime? What would be his motive for helping to murder the late Sharon Otieno, whom in fact he was trying to assist? Anyway, Governor Okoth Obado will formally be charged in court on Monday. He's going to be charged with murder. To be more specific, the murder of the late Sharon Otieno. And you can be sure the police have a lot of evidence here to support their case. If you are a member of my club 1999, you'll be aware of that evidence. In my view, it is very overwhelming evidence. Yeah? Evidence that will make the defense, Bwana Obado's defense, sweat and generally have a very hard time defending the governor. Of course, it is the prayer of most Kenyans that the perpetrators, and those behind this heinous act, the very brutal murder of Sharon Otieno, face justice, are brought to book and made to answer. Now, before I go, I'd like to bring up one more issue that has come out of this Sharon Otieno case. Now, it is a fact that since we started getting very powerful people in the counties, in the form of governors, murders in the county have increased. They have increased dramatically, especially where bodies are found dumped in forests and other places, and always seem to end up remaining deep mysteries. However, now the Sharon Otieno case has opened the eyes of many Kenyans, and I believe the eyes of many investigators involved in solving these crimes. The case of Sharon Otieno, and indeed that of a man called Idris Mukhtar, the man who was shot 3 times in the head, Garissa, related to Garissa County, tells us very clearly that in these instances, investigators should look for a link with powerful people in the county first, especially the governor. Going forward, this can help to solve a lot of the cases that have remained unsolved or would others remain unsolved. Because clearly, these little presidents in the county are very dangerous people. The impunity and ruthlessness which they apply to govern their counties is reason for great concern. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying governors are involved in all of them. I'm not saying all governors are murderers. Indeed, I'm not saying any governor is a murderer. Because the only people who can make such a statement is a court of law after proving the fact. However, what I'm saying is that there's been a dramatic increase in dead bodies being dumped all over the place in counties. And this has started happening when we have introduced governors into Kenya. And so there's a very high possibility that there could be a link between the two. In fact, I have a hunch, just a hunch, no evidence, that indeed there's a connection. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.